The first time I saw her, she was standing in front of 1,000 of her warriors, silver light glinting off armor that looked grown rather than forged. Her eyes, a burning gold, swept across the crowd. And then they stopped. Me. A human diplomat, the lowest-ranked envoy on the mission, who had no business being anywhere near the throne of Zelthara. I wasn't even supposed to speak. I was just there to observe, take notes, and not offend anyone whose claws could slice through titanium. But when the alien queen's gaze locked with mine, everything around me fell silent. Her voice was a melody of power and command. "This human," she said, her tone echoing through the chamber. "He is my mate." And just like that, the hall erupted into chaos. The mission to Zelthara. 3 days earlier, I'd been a background player in the Terran Alliance's newest diplomatic outreach. Humanity had recently discovered the Zelthari Empire, a species of tall, scaled humanoids whose physiology shimmered like glass and mercury. They were ancient, thousands of years older than humankind, and had a reputation for being proud, secretive, and dangerously intelligent. I was brought along as a linguistic observer, not a representative. My task was to record their tonal dialects for future AI translation models. Easy job until the Queen entered. Queen Sarah was not what I expected. She was both regal and terrifying, with movement like liquid steel. Her crown wasn't worn. It was part of her body, crystalline growths that reflected light like a prism. When she spoke, the room seemed to bow to her presence. But when she looked at me, her expression softened, just for a moment. It was enough to make Ambassador Reese clear his throat and mutter under his breath. "Stay invisible, Holden. Please." Tried. I really did. The mistake. The first contact ceremony was supposed to be simple. We'd offer trade agreements, shared technologies, cultural exchanges, the usual interspecies pleasantries. But as I was recording the Queen's closing speech, my translator device glitched and accidentally broadcasted a phrase, out loud, in her own language. "I honor your light." The chamber froze. The phrase wasn't just a greeting. It was sacred, something spoken only during bonding rites between chosen life partners. The Queen's eyes widened. Her guards raised their spears. And I froze like an idiot, mumbling, "Sorry. That was a translation error." Too late. The Queen stepped down from her throne, silent, studying me as though I'd triggered something ancient. "Do you understand," she asked softly, "what you have said to me, human?" I shook my head. I think my translator just." She raised a hand, silencing me. "The words you spoke, they cannot be unsaid." 3. The declaration. That led to this moment, in the throne hall, when the Queen addressed her people and declared, "This human is my mate." Her guards dropped to one knee. Her advisors whispered urgently. The ambassadors beside me turned pale. Ambassador Reese leaned in and hissed, "Holden, whatever you did, undo it. Now." But how do you undo a declaration made by a being whose words can shift empires? The Queen approached me, tall, radiant, her eyes shimmering like molten sunlight. Felt small, pathetic, but I also felt something else. A strange pull, like gravity bending around her presence. "You did not mean the words," she said quietly, "and yet they were spoken in truth. Do you deny their meaning now that your people watch?" I swallowed hard. I didn't know what they meant. She smiled faintly, not cruelly but knowingly. Then perhaps the universe did. For the custom. Later, confined in a golden chamber deep in the palace, I learned from a Zelthari historian what I'd accidentally done. In Zelthari culture, to honor one's light was to acknowledge the soul's resonance, something believed to happen only once in a lifetime. a bond of spirit, not merely of flesh. To speak it was to align your essence with another's. It wasn't marriage. It was eternal connection. Congratulations, the historian said drily. You are, by our custom, the queen's chosen. Refusal would dishonor her lineage. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just said, "How long does this last?" He blinked. "Until death. Or until the stars forget your names." The night before. That night, the queen visited me. She came without guards, her armor replaced by robes that shimmered like liquid moonlight. The air hummed softly around her, like the room itself bowed in her presence. "You are troubled," she said. "Wouldn't you be?" I replied. "Your people think I'm your mate." Her eyes flickered with something unreadable. "Do you wish it undone?" I hesitated. "If I say yes, will it undo?" "No," she said, almost smiling. "But it will tell me who you truly are." We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity. Finally I said, "I don't even know you." "Nor I you," she replied. "And yet our lights have intertwined. Perhaps that is reason enough to learn." 6. The attack. The next morning everything changed. A rebel faction, opposing the Queen's human diplomacy, stormed the palace. Explosions rattled the halls, and the air filled with the sound of energy weapons and screeching metal. Ambassador Reese ordered an emergency extraction, but before I could reach the shuttle bay, I saw Queen Sarah surrounded by assassins in the atrium. Without thinking, I grabbed a fallen guard's plasma spear and ran toward her. Her eyes widened in shock as I stepped between her and the rebels. "You should have fled," she shouted. "Not leaving my, queen," I said, panting. One of the rebels lunged. I deflected the strike clumsily, barely staying upright. She moved beside me, fast and lethal, her movements like lightning. Together, we fought until the last attacker fell. When it was over, we stood back to back, breathing hard in the smoky air. Her voice trembled slightly. "You risked your life for me." Shrug. "Guess I'm not great at cultural boundaries." She smiled faintly, not regal but real. "Perhaps you understand them better than you think." 7. The aftermath. The rebellion was crushed within hours. The Queen survived, barely, and I was credited with saving her life. But what mattered wasn't the ceremony or the medals. It was the moment after the chaos, when she stood before me on the balcony overlooking her recovering city. The alien sun painted her in shades of gold and violet. "Our bond," she said softly, "was spoken in error, but lived in truth." I nodded slowly. I get it now." She reached out, not touching me, just close enough that the warmth of her presence felt like starlight on my skin. "In your silence, I heard what your words could not say," she whispered. "And in your courage, I found what your kind truly is." She looked out toward the horizon. Perhaps the universe was right after all. Epilogue. Months later I returned to Earth. A hero, a curiosity, a myth. They called it the Zelthari Accord, a peace treaty born from an accident. But I knew the truth. Every few nights, when the stars shimmered just right, a faint hum filled my chest, like an echo from light years away. And sometimes, just before sleep, I could almost hear her voice. "Your light honors mine."